Admiral Kethvar stared at the glowing displays in the command center of the Zephyrian Empire's most advanced monitoring station. For 300 years, these massive sensor arrays had watched every corner of space around their territory. Nothing moved without their knowledge. Nothing appeared without warning. Today, that changed. "Sir," called sensor technician Yoon Min-jun from his station. His voice carried an edge of confusion that made the Admiral's skin crawl. "I'm reading massive energy signatures in sectors 7, 12, and 19. Kethvar moved quickly to the main display. "Show me." The holographic map lit up with dozens of red dots scattered across 3 different star systems. Each dot represented something large, something powerful, something that should not exist. "How many ships?" Kethvar asked. "At least 200 per sector, sir. Maybe more." Yoon Min-jun's fingers danced across his controls. "But sir, there's a problem." "What problem?" "They just appeared. No hyperspace signatures, no energy buildup, no warning. One moment the space was empty, the next moment they were there." Kethvar felt his blood turn cold. The Zephyrian Empire controlled this entire region of the galaxy. Their technology was the most advanced known to exist. No one had stealth capabilities that could fool their sensors. No one. "Run full diagnostics on all equipment," he ordered. "Check for system failures." "Already done, sir. All systems are working perfectly." Yoon Min-jun looked up with worried eyes. "Sir, these readings are real." The main communication console started flashing urgent signals. Reports flooded in from 3 different military installations, all saying the same impossible thing. Unknown fleets had appeared without warning near their positions. "Sir," called Communications Officer Reshnal, "we're receiving a transmission from the unknown fleet in Sector 7. "Put it through." The main screen changed to show a human female in a simple uniform. Kethvar recognized her immediately. It was Park Ji-hye, the diplomatic attaché from that primitive planet called Earth. She had visited their space station several times over the past few years, claiming to represent her small world in trade negotiations. But something was different about her now. She wore military insignia that Kethvar had never seen before. Her manner was confident and commanding, nothing like the humble trader she had pretended to be. "Admiral Kethvar," she said in perfect Zephyrian military dialect, "I am Admiral Park of the Human Defense Coalition. We need to talk." Kethvar's mind reeled. "You're supposed to be a simple trader from a primitive world. That's what we wanted you to think." Admiral Park's expression was serious but not hostile. "We've been watching your empire for decades, studying you, learning about you, and now we need to share what we've discovered. You've been spying on us? We've been protecting ourselves and others from you." Her words were blunt, but spoken without anger. "Your empire has been expanding for centuries, conquering or destroying every species you encounter. We chose a different approach." The sensor displays suddenly filled with more information. Ships that had been invisible moments before began appearing on every screen. They surrounded not just the 3 military installations, but dozens of other Zephyrian positions throughout the region. "How many ships do you have?" Kethvar demanded. "Enough," Admiral Park replied. "But we're not here to fight. We're here to warn you about something much worse than our 2 civilizations disagreeing with each other. What could be worse than your species lying to us for years? The entities that are coming to destroy both our civilizations." Before Kethvar could respond, new alarms started ringing throughout the command center. Long-range sensors were detecting something at the very edge of their detection range. Something massive approaching from the space between galaxies. "Sir." Yoon Min-jun's voice was barely a whisper. "Long-range sensors are picking up objects moving toward our galaxy. They're huge. Bigger than anything we've ever seen." Admiral Park nodded grimly on the screen. "Those are the advanced scouts of the Void Syndicate. They consume entire civilizations. Your empire's expansion has triggered ancient warning beacons that called them here. That's impossible. Check your historical records. Look for stories about the devourers from beyond or the star killers. Every advanced civilization in this galaxy has legends about them. They're not legends. Kethvar's mind struggled to process everything happening. First, humans revealing themselves to be far more advanced than anyone suspected. Now, some ancient enemy from beyond the galaxy approaching their space. Why should we trust you? He asked. Because we've had the power to destroy your empire for decades and chose not to use it. Admiral Park leaned forward slightly. We believe in protecting life, not ending it. Even when that life belongs to those who might be our enemies. You're saying you could have attacked us at any time? We've been secretly evacuating populations from worlds your empire was planning to conquer. We've been helping smaller species hide from your expansion fleets. We've been watching and waiting for the right moment to reveal ourselves. The communication officer looked up urgently. Sir, we're receiving similar transmissions from human fleets at all our major installations. They're requesting immediate meetings with High Command. They want to meet with our leadership? Yes, sir. They say they have critical information about the approaching threat and strategies for defending against it. Admiral Park spoke again from the screen. Admiral Kethvar, your empire has two choices. You can treat us as enemies and try to fight both us and the Void Syndicate separately. Or you can work with us to survive what's coming. Kethvar looked at the sensor readings showing the approaching objects from beyond the galaxy. Whatever was coming was massive, beyond imagination. If these humans were right about the threat level, the Zephyrian Empire might not survive alone. What do you propose? A meeting between your High Command and our leadership. Immediately. Every day we delay gives the Void Syndicate more time to establish themselves in our galaxy. The Admiral stared at the displays around him. Everything he thought he knew about the galaxy had changed in the span of minutes. Humanity was not primitive. They possessed technology beyond Zephyrian understanding. And something worse than either civilization was approaching fast. I'll contact High Command immediately, he said finally. Thank you, Admiral. We'll maintain position until your leadership is ready to meet. But please hurry. The scouts will reach inhabited systems within days. The transmission ended, leaving Admiral Kethvar staring at screens full of human warships that had appeared like ghosts in the night. The galaxy would never be the same. High Admiral Gorth Prime had ruled the Zephyrian Empire's military forces for over 50 years. In all that time, he had never called an emergency war council meeting. Today, he called his second one in 6 hours. The massive war room filled with the Empire's most senior officers. Holographic displays showed the positions of human fleets throughout Zephyrian space. Red dots marked each human ship, creating a pattern that revealed just how completely they had been outmaneuvered. How did we miss this? Demanded General Vextor, commander of the 3rd Battle Fleet. They used stealth technology we didn't know existed, replied Intelligence Director Quinn Sal. Her voice was tight with professional embarrassment. Our entire intelligence network failed to detect an advanced civilization operating in our territory for decades. The question now is, what do we do about it? Gorth Prime said. He activated the main display, showing the approaching human flagship. Admiral Lee Sung-min has requested permission to dock with our command station. Let an enemy warship dock here? General Vextor stood up angrily. That's madness. Is it? Gorth Prime asked calmly. They could have destroyed our outer installations without warning. Instead, they revealed themselves and asked to talk. The main communication system activated. Hi, Admiral. The human flagship is transmitting. Put them through. The main screen lit up with the image of a middle-aged human male in a clean, simple uniform. His manner was respectful, but confident. Behind him, the bridge of his ship showed technology that looked both familiar and completely foreign. Hi, Admiral Gorth Prime, the human said in perfect Zephyrian formal language. I am Admiral Lee Sung-min of the Human Defense Coalition. Thank you for agreeing to meet with us. Admiral Lee, Gorth Prime replied carefully. Your forces have taken positions throughout our space without permission. Explain yourselves. We positioned ourselves to protect your installations from what's coming. Lee gestured to someone off-screen. A new figure appeared beside him. A human female, in scientific robes. This is Dr. Kim So-young, our expert on extragalactic threats, Lee continued. She has information your empire needs to survive. Dr. Kim stepped forward and activated a holographic display. The image showed detailed scans of the objects approaching from beyond the galaxy. The data was far more complete than anything Zephyrian sensors had detected. The Void Syndicate, Dr. Kim began, is a collection of entities that consume the life force of entire civilizations. They move from galaxy to galaxy, leaving nothing but empty space behind them. How do you know this? Asked Intelligence Director Quinsal. Because we've been studying them for over 200 years. Dr. Kim's expression was grim. Our ancestors encountered evidence of them when we first developed long-range space travel. We found dead galaxies, entire star systems stripped of all life. Admiral Lee spoke again. When we detected your empire's rapid expansion, we realized you would eventually trigger the ancient warning systems that summon the Syndicate. We've been preparing for this day ever since. Warning systems? Gorth Prime leaned forward. Ancient civilizations built automated beacons throughout this galaxy, Dr. Kim explained. When a species reaches a certain level of expansion and energy output, the beacons activate. They send signals into intergalactic space, calling the Void Syndicate to come and harvest the new civilization. General Vextor laughed harshly. You expect us to believe fairy tales about ancient beacons and star-eating monsters? Dr. Kim manipulated her display, showing real-time sensor data. Your long-range sensors are detecting them right now. Check your own readings. The Zephyrian officers looked at their displays. The approaching objects were indeed massive and moving at incredible speed toward their galaxy. Even if this is true, Gorth Prime said slowly, why should we trust you? You've been lying to us for decades. Because we could have let the Syndicate find you first, Admiral Lee replied. We could have stayed hidden and let them destroy your empire, then dealt with whatever remained. Instead, we chose to reveal ourselves and offer alliance. What kind of alliance? The kind where both our civilizations survive. Lee's expression was serious. Your empire has the largest military force in this region of the galaxy. Our technology specializes in stealth, coordination, and protection. Together, we might have a chance. We have to fund. IN2. Courting for. To the Lord. Dr. Kim activated another display. The Syndicate's advanced scouts will reach the outer systems of this galaxy in 3 days. The main fleet will arrive in approximately 2 weeks. We need to begin evacuations immediately. Evacuations? General Vextor stood up again. The Zephyrian Empire does not run from enemies. The Zephyrian Empire has never faced enemies like this, Admiral Lee said quietly. We're not suggesting retreat. We're suggesting we save who we can, while we prepare to fight. You're asking us to abandon our territories. We're asking you to prioritize lives over territory. Lee's voice carried conviction. Every civilian we evacuate is a victory against the Syndicate. Every life we save weakens their power. Gorth Prime studied the human admiral carefully. What do you gain from this alliance? Survival. Your military strength combined with our defensive capabilities gives this galaxy its best chance of defeating the Syndicate. Lee paused. And the preservation of life, both Zephyrian and human. You would risk your own people to save ours? We believe all sentient life has value. The war room fell silent as the Zephyrian officers processed this statement. Their culture was built on conquest and domination. The idea of risking themselves for others was foreign to most of them. Intelligence Director Quinsal spoke first. Our sensors confirm the approaching objects exist If they are hostile as you claim, we need more information about their capabilities. Dr. Kim nodded. We can share everything we know. Our databases contain detailed analysis of syndicate technology, tactics, and weaknesses. Weaknesses? Gorth Prime asked. They're not invincible, Admiral Lee said. Previous civilizations have fought them successfully, though none have faced a force this large. We believe combined resistance can work. The communication officer suddenly stood up. Hi, Admiral. Long-range sensors are detecting new objects entering our galaxy. They match the profiles Dr. Kim showed us. All eyes turned to the main display. New red dots appeared at the galaxy's edge, moving steadily toward inhabited systems. The first scouts have arrived, Dr. Kim said grimly. We're out of time for long debates. Admiral Lee looked directly at Gorth Prime. Hi, Admiral. We need your decision. Do we work together to face this threat, or do we each fight alone and probably die separately? Gorth Prime stared at the display showing approaching syndicate forces. His empire had conquered dozens of species over the centuries. They had never faced anything that threatened their very existence. What do you propose as the first step? He asked. Joint evacuation of the 3 systems closest to the syndicate's approach vector. Lee replied immediately. We can move civilians to safety, while our military forces establish defensive positions. You're asking us to trust you with our people's lives. Yes. And we're trusting you with ours. The High Admiral made his decision. Very well, Admiral Lee. We will try this alliance. But if you betray us, you'll never have to worry about the syndicate. Lee finished with a slight smile. Understood. High Admiral. We won't let you down. As the 2 fleets began coordinating their first joint operation, both civilizations faced an uncertain future. But for the first time, since the crisis began, there was hope. Commander Choi Jae-won watched the chaos on his command display with growing concern. 3 Zephyrian battle fleets were trying to coordinate their retreat from the Kepler system. But their rigid military hierarchy was slowing everything down. Captain Thresh Cole, he called to the Zephyrian officer working beside him. Your 3rd fleet is waiting for orders from High Command. But High Command is 3 star systems away. The Syndicate scouts will be here in 6 hours. Thresh Cole, a veteran warrior with scars covering half his face, looked frustrated. Our protocol requires approval from Fleet Command before major movements. We cannot simply abandon our positions. Those positions won't matter if everyone dies defending them. The main display showed 16 Syndicate scout ships approaching the system. Each one was larger than a Zephyrian battleship. Sensor readings indicated they were unlike anything either civilization had encountered before. Human commander, called Engineer Jung Hae Rim from her station. The evacuation transports are ready, but we need the Zephyrian fleet to provide escort coverage. Choi Jae-won opened a channel to all ships in the system. All vessels. This is Commander Choi. We have 40,000 civilians to evacuate and 6 hours to do it. I'm implementing emergency coordination protocol. What protocol? Thresh Call asked. One where we make decisions based on saving lives instead of following chains of command. The human ships began moving into formation around the civilian transports. Each human vessel was smaller than its Zephyrian counterpart, but moved with precision and purpose. Zephyrian 3rd Fleet, Choi transmitted. Please form defensive perimeter around evacuation convoy. Human defense ships will coordinate point defense and fighter coverage. We don't take orders from humans, came an angry response from one of the Zephyrian captains. Then give the orders yourselves. Choi replied calmly. But give them now. Or explain to your families why you let civilians die for the sake of military pride. Close. 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 Captain Threshcall was quiet for several moments, watching the human ships move into protective positions around the transports. Their formation, was unlike anything in Zephyrian tactical doctrine. Instead of preparing for glorious battle, they were preparing to run away while protecting others. Third Fleet, Threshcall finally transmitted to his ships, formed defensive escort for the evacuation convoy. We will follow human coordination for this operation. Several of his officers protested, but Threshcall cut them off. The humans have been watching us for decades without us knowing. Maybe we should learn what they know. Press explained. The evacuation convoy began moving toward the edge of the system. 50 transport ships carried civilians from 3 different planets, escorted by 20 human warships and 30 Zephyrian vessels. Human ships are maintaining perfect formation, reported one of Threshcall's officers with surprise. Their coordination is remarkable. Choi Jae-won smiled slightly. We've had a lot of practice working together, instead of just following orders. What do you mean? Watch our communication patterns. Every ship captain contributes to tactical decisions. Every crew member can suggest improvements. We don't just follow commands blindly. The Syndicate scouts entered the system just as the convoy reached the hyperspace jump point. Sensor readings showed the alien ships scanning everything in sight, analyzing the abandoned planets and stations. They're not attacking, observed Threshcall. They're studying. They're learning about us, Dr. Kim So-young said from her position on the human flagship. The Syndicate always analyzes their prey before consuming it. The convoy jumped to hyperspace, leaving the Kepler system to the Syndicate scouts. Behind them, they left empty cities and abandoned military bases. But they had saved every living person. Total evacuation successful, reported engineer Jung Hai-rim. All 40,000 civilians safely transported. In the Taurus system, the same scene repeated with different players. Human Captain Oh Dong-hyuk worked alongside Zephyrian Admiral Nex Voth to evacuate 2 heavily populated worlds. Your evacuation methods are inefficient, Admiral Nex Voth complained as civilian transports loaded refugees. We should prioritize military personnel and essential infrastructure. Mine times as refuges, under sport. Teen stress is where every person has value, Captain O replied while coordinating traffic control for hundreds of ships. Military personnel are important, but so are teachers, artists, farmers, and children. Children cannot fight. Children are what we're fighting for. Admiral Nex Voth watched human ships systematically evacuating entire cities. Their transports were designed for maximum capacity and comfort, not speed or combat capability. It was the opposite of Zephyrian military philosophy. You build your ships to save people instead of killing them, he observed. Yes, we learned a long time ago that protecting life is harder than ending it, but much more worthwhile. The Syndicate arrived in the Taurus system 8 hours later, but found only empty worlds. 200,000 civilians had been relocated to safer systems deeper in the galaxy. In system after system, the same pattern emerged. Human ships appeared alongside Zephyrian fleets, coordinating evacuations with unprecedented efficiency. The humans seemed to know exactly how to organize massive population movements, while the Zephyrians provided military protection. Captain Threshcall found himself working closely with Commander Choi during the evacuation of the Vega colonies. The experience was changing his understanding of warfare. Why do your people fight? Threshcall asked during a quiet moment between operations. To protect those who cannot protect themselves, Choi replied simply. The Zephyrian Empire fights for glory and expansion. How's that working out for you? Threshcall was quiet for a moment. We rule half the galaxy, but we have more enemies than friends. We rule no worlds outside our own system, but we have allies everywhere we go. The truth of that statement became clear as the evacuations continued. Species that had been conquered by the Zephyrian Empire were eager to work with human ships. Worlds that had resisted Zephyrian expansion opened their doors to human coordinators. The Crystalline Collective just agreed to provide shelter for Zephyrian refugees, reported Communications Officer Park Yoon-ji with amazement. They've been at war with the Empire for 50 years. They're not at war with people who need help, Commander Choi explained. They're at war with people who try to conquer them. Engineer Jung-hae Rim looked up from her technical displays. I'm seeing something interesting in our coordination data. The human-Zephyrian joint operations are actually more effective than either of our fleets working alone. How so? Zephyrian ships provide heavy firepower and strong defenses. Human ships provide coordination and specialized evacuation capability. Together, we can protect and move larger populations faster than either group could manage separately. Captain Thresh-Cole nodded slowly. Your people complement our strengths while covering our weaknesses. And your people do the same for us, Choi agreed. We're stronger together. The evacuation phase was saving millions of lives, but it was also teaching both civilizations something unexpected. They were learning to work together, despite completely different philosophies and methods. However, long-range sensors brought disturbing news. The main Syndicate fleet was approaching faster than expected. The evacuations had bought time, but not enough. All evacuation fleets, came a transmission from Admiral Lee Sung-min. Begin. Phase 2 operations immediately. The main battle is about to begin. As the joint fleets regrouped for their next challenge, both humans and Zephyrians realized they had learned something valuable. Working together, they could accomplish things neither group could achieve alone. The question now was whether that lesson had come in time to save their galaxy. The neutral station called Convergence Point had been empty for over a century. Built by long-dead civilizations as a meeting place for different species, it had become a symbol of failed cooperation in the galaxy. Today, Admiral Park Ji-hae stood in its central assembly hall, looking out at representatives from 47 different species. Many of them had been enemies for hundreds of years. Some had never spoken to each other at all. Thank you all for coming, she began, speaking through universal translators. I know many of your species have reasons to hate others in this room. But today, we face something that wants to destroy all of us equally. The assembly was tense. Crystalline beings sat across from the Saurian Federation, representatives who had conquered their worlds decades ago. Gas-breathing ethereals shared the same air as the stone-like Granite Collective, despite generations of territorial disputes. High Admiral Gorth Prime sat in the front row, still uncomfortable with the idea of negotiating with species his empire had been fighting or planning to conquer. Beside him sat Captain Oh Dong-hyuk, whose calm presence seemed to ease tensions wherever he went. Show them the long-range sensor data, Admiral Park called to Dr. Lim Young-soo, the human scientist managing the presentation systems. The main display filled with images that made the entire assembly fall silent. The Syndicate main fleet was massive beyond comprehension. Thousands of ships, each one larger than anything any of the assembled civilizations had ever built. The Void Syndicate will reach the core systems of this galaxy in 8 days, Dr. Lim announced. Their advanced scouts have already consumed 17 star systems. In each case, they stripped all life force from every living thing, leaving dead worlds behind. A crystalline representative spoke up, its voice chiming like bells. Why should we trust humans? You have hidden from us for decades. Because we've been helping you for decades, Captain O replied calmly. When the Zephyrian Empire planned to invade your worlds, we provided intelligence that helped you prepare defenses. When the Saurian Federation attacked your trade routes, we guided them away from your civilian ships. The Saurian representative, a massive reptilian creature, rose to his feet. You interfered with our military operations? We prevented unnecessary deaths on both sides. O continued. Your forces were heading into traps that would have killed thousands. We helped you find strategic targets instead of civilian ones. Admiral Park activated another display. For 50 years, we've been secretly mediating conflicts throughout this galaxy. We've prevented wars, negotiated hidden treaties, and protected smaller civilizations from being destroyed. Why? Asked a representative from the ethereal species. Its gaseous form, shimmering with curiosity. Because we believe all intelligent life has value, Park replied simply. Every species brings something unique to the galaxy. Losing any of you makes all of us poorer. High Admiral Gorth Prime stood up. The humans saved Zephyrian civilians even while we considered them potential enemies. They risked their own ships to evacuate our worlds. A murmur went through the assembly. The Zephyrian Empire was known for its military might and conquest. If they were praising human actions, something significant had happened. Dr. Lim activated a technical display showing ship configurations and capabilities. Each of your civilizations has developed unique technologies and capabilities. The Crystalline Collective has the most advanced energy shielding. The Saurian Federation builds the heaviest weapons platforms. The Granite Collective has mining technology that can modify asteroids into fortifications. What's your point? Asked the crystalline representative. Individually, none of us can defeat the Syndicate, Dr. Lim continued. But together, combining all our technologies and capabilities, we might have a chance. Captain O stepped forward. We've developed integration protocols that allow different technologies to work together. Your energy shields can protect Saurian weapons platforms. Granite mining equipment can create defensive positions for ethereal scout ships. You're asking ancient enemies to fight side by side, the Saurian representative growled. We're asking you to choose between old grudges and survival, Admiral Park replied. A small voice spoke up from the back of the assembly. It came from a representative of the Pacifica species, one of the smallest and most peaceful civilizations in the galaxy. Our worlds were among the first the Syndicate attacked, the Pacifica delegate said quietly. They didn't care that we had no weapons or military. They consumed every living thing on our planets. Our children, our elders, our artists, and teachers. Everything. The assembly fell silent. We have 17 ships left, tiny vessels with no weapons at all. But we want to fight alongside you, because no one else should lose what we lost. The emotional impact of those words changed something in the room. Species that had been glaring at each other began looking toward the displays showing the approaching Syndicate fleet. Captain O spoke quietly into the silence. The Pacifica ships have the most advanced medical bays in the galaxy. They can save the wounded from all our species during battle. Dr. Lim added more technical data to the displays. The ethereal scouts can provide reconnaissance that no other ships can match. The Granite Collective can build mobile fortifications. The Crystalline Collective can power defensive arrays beyond anything we've ever seen. And the humans? Asked the Saurian representative. We coordinate. Admiral Park replied. We've spent decades learning how each of your civilizations thinks and operates. We can help you work together without losing what makes you unique. Arbre. High Admiral Gorth Prime stood again. The Zephyrian Empire officially requests alliance with all assembled civilizations for the purpose of defending this galaxy. It was a stunning statement. The mighty Zephyrian Empire, which had conquered or intimidated most species in the region, was asking for help. One by one, other representatives stood and voiced their agreement. The Crystalline Collective agreed to share their shielding technology. The Saurian Federation offered their weapons platforms. The Ethereals provided reconnaissance capabilities. Even ancient enemies found ways to work together. The Saurians and crystalline beings agreed to joint defense platforms. The Granite Collective offered to build fortified bases for ethereal scouts. Captain O worked tirelessly throughout the negotiations, finding common ground between species that had never spoken peacefully before. His patient mediation helped resolve dozens of potential conflicts. We have 6 days to integrate all these different technologies and tactical approaches, Doctor. Lim announced as the formal agreements were signed. It's going to require cooperation on a scale this galaxy has never seen. Can it be done? Asked the ethereal representative. Admiral Park looked around the assembly hall, now filled with former enemies working together to plan their survival. "Ask us again in 6 days," she replied. "But for the first time since this crisis began, I think we have a real chance." As the various species began working together on technical integration, something unprecedented was happening. Ancient hatred was being set aside for common survival. Technologies were being shared freely. Military doctrines were being adapted to include former enemies as allies. The Galactic Defense Alliance was born not from conquest or diplomination, but from the simple recognition that all intelligent life had value worth protecting. But time was running short, and the ultimate test was approaching fast. Fleet Commander Seo Min-jun had never imagined commanding a force like the one spread across the Seven Suns region. 2,000 ships from 47 different civilizations hung in formation around 7 star systems, representing the largest military alliance in galactic history. "Status report," he called from the bridge of the human flagship Harmony. "All Alliance fleets report ready," replied Communications Officer Park Yoon-ji. "Zephyrian heavy battle groups are in position around the outer systems. Crystalline shield ships have formed defensive barriers. Saurian weapon platforms are locked onto approach vectors. Evacuation status? Final civilian transports cleared the region 12 minutes ago," reported Captain Choi Jae-won from his coordination station. 3 million people relocated to safety zones behind our main defensive line. On the main display, the approaching Syndicate fleet looked like a dark storm cloud blotting out the stars. Hundreds of massive vessels, each one larger than the biggest Alliance ships, moved steadily toward the Seven Suns, with unstoppable momentum. "They're not even trying to hide their approach," observed Captain Thresh Cole. The Zephyrian officer, who had become an expert at human tactical doctrine during the past week. "They don't need to, Doctor," Kim So-young said grimly from her science station. "They've consumed thousands of civilizations. They're used to overwhelming opposition through pure force." Fleet Commander Seo activated the Alliance communication network. "All ships. This is Commander Seo. Initiate Shepard Protocol. On my mark." Throughout the fleet, captains and commanders from dozens of different species prepared for a battle unlike anything in their history. But this was not a battle for conquest or glory. This was a battle for the simple right to exist. "Syndicate Vanguard is entering the outer system," reported sensor operator Yoon Min-jun. "They're scanning our positions." "Thang. Let them scan," Seo replied calmly. "Phase 1 begins now." The Alliance fleet suddenly scattered in what looked like complete chaos. Ships broke formation and began retreating in all directions, appearing to panic in the face of the Syndicate advance. "Sir," called a young Zephyrian officer from one of the Allied ships, "are we really running away?" "We're not running," Captain Thresh Cole explained with a grim smile. The Syndicate fleet pursued the retreating Alliance ships, exactly as the humans had predicted. The massive alien vessels moved deeper into the Seven Suns region, chasing what appeared to be a broken and fleeing enemy. "Syndicate main force is fully committed to pursuit," reported Communications Officer Park. "They're following our retreat vectors exactly." "They think they've already won," observed Dr. Kim. "Their experience tells them that fleeing enemies are defeated enemies." Fleet Commander Seo watched the tactical display as the Syndicate ships spread themselves across multiple star systems, chasing different groups of retreating Alliance vessels. The enemy was massive and powerful, but they were also becoming divided. "Phase 2, Seo commanded. "All evacuation transports, begin emergency protocol." Throughout the Seven Suns region, what the Syndicate had assumed were fleeing warships suddenly revealed their true nature. The retreating vessels were actually massive evacuation ships, each one carrying hundreds of thousands of civilians from threatened worlds beyond the battle zone. "The Syndicate is ignoring the evacuation ships," reported Captain Oh Dong-hyuk from his position coordinating refugee movements. "They're focused entirely on pursuing our military vessels." "They don't understand our strategy," Seo replied. "They think in terms of conquest, not protection." The evacuation ships passed through the battle zone, carrying precious cargo. the combined populations of 17 different worlds that had been in the Syndicate's path. Millions of people, from dozens of species, all fleeing to safety behind the Alliance defensive lines. Phase 3, CO announced. All ships. Implement containment protocol. The real trap was sprung. What had appeared to be random retreat movements suddenly revealed themselves as carefully coordinated positioning. Alliance ships that had been fleeing in panic now found themselves surrounding the scattered Syndicate forces. Crystalline energy barriers. Activate now, ordered Dr. Lim Young-soo from her technical coordination station. Invisible barriers of pure energy suddenly appeared throughout the Seven Suns region. The crystalline collective's most advanced technology, powered by generators hidden on asteroids and small moons, created walls of force that cut off Syndicate retreat routes. Saurian weapon platforms, fire at will, commanded Captain Park Yoon-ji. The heaviest weapons in the galaxy opened fire on Syndicate ships that suddenly found themselves trapped in energy cages. Weapons that had been designed to destroy planets focused their firepower on targets that couldn't escape. But the real surprise was yet to come. Dr. Lim, Fleet Commander CO called, activate the quantum disruptors. Hidden throughout the battle zone, devices built using combined Alliance technology began disrupting the energy fields that held the Syndicate fleet together. Human stealth technology had allowed the placement of these disruptors inside the enemy formation without detection. Syndicate ships are losing power, reported sensor operator Yoon excitedly. Their energy absorption capabilities are being blocked. The disruptors are working, Dr. Lim announced. They can't drain life force from the surrounding space. For the first time in the battle, Syndicate ships began showing vulnerability. Cut off from their ability to consume energy from surrounding space, they were forced to rely on their own stored power. All Alliance ships, CO commanded, begin coordinated assault. Target the disabled vessels first. The battle that followed was fierce but brief. Syndicate ships, separated and unable to support each other, fell one by one to concentrated Alliance firepower. Without their energy absorption abilities, they were powerful but not invincible. Syndicate main command ship is attempting to retreat, called Communications Officer Park. Pursuit course laid in, replied Captain Choi from the navigation station. The final phase of the battle was a running fight as Alliance ships pursued the surviving Syndicate vessels toward the edge of the galaxy. But the enemy was broken and scattered, their fleet destroyed by strategy rather than superior force. Final Syndicate ship has been disabled, reported Captain Thresh Cole with satisfaction. The threat to our galaxy is ended. Fleet Commander CO looked around the bridge at officers from multiple species working together as a unified team. Humans, Zephyrians, crystalline beings, and others had fought side by side to protect something larger than any of their individual civilizations. Begin recovery operations, he ordered. Locate all survivors and disabled ships, and send word to the evacuation fleets. They can begin returning home. Captain Oh Dong-hyuk looked up from his refugee coordination station. Sir, I'm getting reports from the evacuation ships. 17 different species, over 6 million people, all safe, and asking when they can return to rebuild their worlds. Tell them they can start immediately, Seo replied, and tell them they won't be rebuilding alone. The Alliance will help them restore what was lost. In the days that followed, something remarkable happened throughout the galaxy. The Galactic Defense Alliance, formed in desperation to face extinction, chose to remain united in peace. Former enemies became partners in reconstruction. Technologies continued to be shared freely. New worlds were explored and settled cooperatively rather than through conquest. The Zephyrian Empire transformed itself from a conquering force into a protective confederation. High Admiral Gorth Prime found more satisfaction in defending others than he had ever found in conquering them. Human ships continued their role as coordinators and mediators, helping different species work together while respecting their unique cultures and capabilities. And in the archives of 47 different civilizations, the story was recorded of how humanity's greatest strength had not been their technology or military power, but their ability to see the potential for good in others and unite them against darkness. Admiral Park Ji-hae, now coordinator of the Galactic Alliance Council, often remembered the moment when everything changed. It was not when the human fleet revealed itself, or when the Syndicate was defeated. It was when different species chose to trust each other enough to work together. The galaxy would never be the same. It had become something better.